There are moments when you hear a remark about yourself, not directly from the source, but through the account of another. It might be a judgment, a critique, or a piece of gossip recounted under the guise of concern. Even as you struggle to maintain a facade of calm, something within you stirs. It is not necessarily because the words are true, but because they strike a very human need: the desire to be understood, to be recognized, and to protect one's image in the eyes of the world. If you have ever stood in that moment, pause for a second. If you seek to learn how to no longer let the words of others dictate your emotions, your thoughts, or your actions, subscribe to Stoic Journey now. This channel is not for easy comforts. It is for those who seek to become firmer, calmer, and freer from within. For in that exact moment, the vital question is no longer what they said, but to what extent you will allow it to govern you. Here, the Stoic journey begins, not to conquer others, but to reclaim, step by step, the sovereignty of your own mind. When someone informs you that another has spoken ill of you, the natural reflex is to explain, to defend, or to repair your reputation. But a Stoic does not rush to do so. They understand that the more we justify ourselves, the more we surrender the keys to our peace to others. Instead, they might calmly respond, "The person clearly did not know my other faults. Otherwise, they would not have mentioned only these." This is not sarcasm. It is sobriety. For what determines your worth is not the idle chatter of the world, but the manner in which you choose to respond to it. We have 2 ears and 1 mouth so that we may listen more than we speak, yet the mind often acts to the contrary. We engage in mental duels with the absent, defending ourselves against words never uttered to our face. In these invisible dialogues, we silently squander our vital energy. The Stoic recognizes that poverty or wealth begins not with possessions, but with the multitude of desires one permits to dwell within the mind. Therefore, first, ask yourself, what manner of person do I wish to become? Then, act accordingly. Happiness flows not from governing the world, but from relinquishing what lies beyond our reach. If you truly desire progress, be content to be misunderstood, even to be thought foolish regarding external matters. For no man is free if his emotions are still tethered to the gaze of others. The wise man does not grieve for what he lacks, but rejoices in what he possesses. Most human suffering stems not from reality, but from the scripts we draft in our own minds. We are not exhausted by circumstances, but by anxieties that have never come to pass. Here, the Stoic path commands us to stop, not in surrender, but in the realization that true liberty lies not in correcting the thoughts of others, but in the power to keep our own mind from being dragged away by the trivial. When you no longer feel the need to prove yourself, you begin to truly master yourself. Ultimately, the core of existence returns to a single truth. Happiness comes from ceasing to fret over what is outside our control. Thus, choose to associate with those who elevate you, whose presence calls forth your highest nature. It is not what happens to you that matters, but how you respond to it. He who can smile at himself will not easily be toppled by the collisions of the world. Remember, the attitudes and troubles of others are contagious, only if you unconsciously choose to absorb them. Freedom is being sober enough to refuse the emotional burdens that do not belong to you. You need not turn your back on the world. You only need to select what is permitted to enter your mind. Tranquility is not found in fixing others, but in keeping your inner self untainted by the unnecessary. The most worthy goal in life is to learn the art of letting go. Circumstances do not make the man, they only reveal him to himself. One cannot learn what he believes he already knows. We are not disturbed by things, but by the view we take of them. To blame others is a sign of ignorance. To reflect upon oneself shows that the journey of learning has begun. And when you no longer blame yourself nor others, true maturity has taken root. You are a small soul, carrying within you that which no one can touch. Those who think they can harm you do not truly know who you are, what you think, or the core values you hold. Therefore, before you speak, understand your words. Before you react, cling to your highest spiritual values regardless of the world's turbulence. The greater the difficulty, the more profound the glory in overcoming it. The firmest souls are not forged in calm waters, but in the heart of the storm. Storms do not exist to destroy. They exist to test the depth of one's will. Only in the midst of the gale do we realize what can be stripped away from us and what remains beyond the reach of any force. He who masters his internal state maintains his direction even in the heart of chaos. For no man is truly free if he is not his own master. The wise man does not grieve for what he lacks, but finds gratitude in what he possesses. Goodness is not an external find. It is discovered in the very way we live and perceive our existence. Do not strive to prove your wisdom to others. Do not demand that events unfold according to your will. Instead, wish for them to happen exactly as they do, and you will find life becomes lighter. A ship should not rely on a single anchor, nor should a person rest their entire life upon a single hope. First, be who you are. Then, adorn yourself with enduring values. Consider things for yourself. If you are a reader, read with precision. If you are a writer, write with wholeness. Events do not arrive by chance. They follow the rhythm of existence. When asked who is truly wealthy, the simplest answer is, he who is content with the present. For we are not disturbed by what happens, but by our judgments of what has happened. A person of integrity lives rightly not for appearance, but because they refuse to betray their inner principles, even if the price is external scarcity. Some lack for nothing, yet remain restless. Others face great hardship, yet retain a tranquil mind. The petty man blames others. The common man blames himself. The wise man rises above all blame. A short but noble life is of greater value than a long and hollow one. Nothing great is created in an instant, for men fear not things themselves but the shadows cast by their own perceptions. And here, the true journey begins, when we cease demanding that the world be gentler to us and instead learn to be firmer before the world. Maturity does not come from avoiding suffering, but from the ability to stand still before it, to look it in the eye and refuse to let it decide the person you will become. When someone speaks ill of you, the natural reflex is to justify, but the Stoic chooses another path. They might calmly respond, "Clearly, you did not know my other faults, or you would not have mentioned only these." This is not for mockery, but to remind ourselves that true honor does not reside in the breath of others. Whenever misfortune or adversity strikes, instead of panicking, return to yourself and ask, "What power do I possess to face this?" You may shackle my body, but not even Zeus can conquer my free will. In difficulty, a person's true nature is most vividly exposed. Nothing great is created suddenly, just as a cluster of grapes does not ripen overnight. If you long for the fruit, accept the time. Let it blossom, let it grow, and let it ripen. Therefore, the Stoic keeps before their eyes the image of death, exile, and the tragedies of life, not to fear them, but to cease clinging blindly to small and fleeting desires. When asked how one might best inflict pain upon an enemy, A stern master replied, "Prepare yourself to live the best life possible." For what truly matters is not the state of external affairs, but the lens through which we perceive them. Do not live by your own arbitrary rules. Live in harmony with nature. The essence of philosophy is not for idle debate, but to teach us to live such that our happiness depends as little as possible on things outside ourselves. There are those who live without grief or fear, and there are those who dwell in abundance yet carry a heavy soul. The petty man blames others. The common man blames himself. The wise man rises above all blame. A short but noble life is of greater value than a long and hollow one. Nothing great is created in an instant, for men fear not things themselves. They fear only their own perceptions of them. In these perceptions, fate is silently forged. It is not our circumstances that exhaust us, but the depth to which we allow them to penetrate our inner sanctuary. When you cease demanding that the world be fair, you begin to construct strength from within. This is the moment a person stops reacting by instinct and chooses to respond with dignity. When someone speaks ill of you, the familiar reflex is to defend yourself. But the Stoic may calmly respond, "Clearly, you do not yet know my other faults, or you would not have mentioned only these." This is not for sarcasm. It is to remind oneself that true honor does not reside in the judgments of others. Whenever misfortune or adversity strikes, return to yourself and ask, "What strength can I summon to face this?" You may shackle my body, but not even Zeus can conquer my free will. Hardship always reveals the truth of a man. Nothing great is created in an instant, any more than a bunch of grapes can ripen overnight. If you desire the fruit, you must yield to time. Let it blossom, let it set, and then let it mature. Thus, the Stoic keeps before his mind the images of death, exile, and tragedy, especially death, not to foster fear, but to cease the pursuit of meaningless and fleeting desires. When asked how to best inflict pain upon an enemy, a stern master replied, "Prepare yourself to live the best life possible." What matters is not the events themselves, but the lens through which we view them. Do not live by your own arbitrary rules. Live in harmony with nature. The essence of philosophy lies not in debate, but in teaching us how to live so that our happiness depends as little as possible on external things. Form for yourself a character of immortal virtue that you resolve to follow, both in your private life and when you step before the world. Do not do this to worship, but to mirror. When faced with a difficult choice, no longer ask what is easy, but ask what is worthy. Let that image silently govern your words, your deeds, and even the thoughts that no one sees. Anyone who wishes to learn from the sages must first master the art of listening. If you seek to heal your anger, cease to nourish it. Tell yourself, "Before I was angry every day, then every other day, and now only once every few days." When you recognize this progress, be grateful, not because you are perfect, but because you are moving in the right direction. If you truly wish to grow, be content to be thought foolish regarding the affairs of the world. Though you may appear significant in the eyes of others, do not lose your grip on yourself. You cannot live in harmony with nature while simultaneously grasping everything the world offers. When you seize one, you must relinquish the other. Anyone who can make you angry holds dominion over you, for anger exists only when you grant it permission to do so. If someone informs you that another has spoken ill of you, do not rush to defend yourself. Calmly respond, "Clearly, they did not know my other faults, or they would not have mentioned only these." Only those educated in the Stoic spirit are truly free. It is not what happens that decides your fate, but the manner in which you choose to respond. We have 2 ears and 1 mouth, so that we may listen more than we speak. Wealth resides not in possessing much, but in desiring less. Man does not suffer from things, but from his perception of them. First, ask yourself, what manner of person do I wish to become? Then, do what must be done. There is only one path to happiness: to cease worrying about things that lie beyond the power of our will. If you wish to progress, accept being misunderstood. No man is truly free if he is not his own master. The wise man does not grieve for what he lacks. He deeply cherishes what is present. And when all the noise finally subsides, what remains is not the world outside, but how you stood firm against it. Stoicism does not teach us to flee from life, but how to remain within it, with a mind that is no longer dragged away by the emotions, the words, or the gazes of others. You do not need to win every argument, nor do you need to be understood by everyone. Your tranquility is, in itself, the most powerful answer. Marcus Aurelius once reminded us, "You have power over your mind, not outside events. Realize this, and you will find strength." When you embody this truth, the envy, hypocrisy, or pettiness around you will no longer reach the deepest parts of your soul. That is freedom, a quiet freedom, yet an enduring one. If these reflections have caused you to pause for a beat, stay with the channel. Like, subscribe to Stoic Journey, and share this video with someone in search of a spiritual anchor. For the journey of self-mastery does not begin with the world outside. It begins at the moment you choose to awaken and to hold your ground.